this is where you go.
Okay. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar. I am Beatriz Mayor. I work at iCatalyst, and I'm going to make a presentation about the Natural Assurance Schemes Canvas, which is a tool that we developed within the NIAD project to identify and describe business models for nature-based solutions. So I'm going to share my screen now to show you the presentation. Okay, you can see it now. So, as I said, this tool I'm going to present has been developed within the NIAD project, although I'm joining on representation of the Acton MBS project, which is also an H2020 project, which is going to apply this business canvas in one of their case studies. And we have a very close collaboration, so that's iCatalyst is also part of that project, and that's why we have been invited to present. So the first thing I would like to introduce is why business models. Why are they important for MBS? And the reason is because there are several challenges for MBS implementation that include a lack of evidence on the functionality versus the well-known gray solutions, that they need a very high upfront investment, whereas the impacts occur on the longer term, so the return of investment is not immediate or not in the short term. And partly because of this, it's difficult to find funding and financing sources for MBS implementation, and it's also difficult to attract investors because they perceive this kind of projects as high risk, and also they are sometimes too small to be interesting for impact investors or other type of investors. And because of these challenges, it is important to be able to communicate the value of nature-based solutions in an effective manner. Business models are a way to, a business model, what it does is to tell you how value is captured and delivered, and it can help you communicate that value to the public. So the way that business models have been described officially, so to say, is the way that it describes the rationale of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value in economic, social, cultural, or other contexts. How do we relate this to MBS? Because they are not really an organization, but MBS are providing a service, which is, for example, in the case of risk reduction, in the case of MBSs that help to reduce risk, for example, flood risk or drought risk, they are providing a risk reduction value. In the case of nature-based solutions that are, for example, help to clean water, they are providing a water quality service. So at the end, nature-based solutions are providing a service, and this service has a value. So at the end of the day, a nature-based solutions project can be conceived as some kind of organization that is providing a value. And that's why we can use the term business model in order to try to describe how this value is delivered, by whom, and identifying all the elements and actors that are required to deliver this value. But in order to make it clear, there is need for organizing the information in a visual way that allows understanding and communication to not only investors, but also the public, to the implementers, the citizens, and all the actors that are going to be involved in a way by being beneficiaries or being implementers or the different kind of of roles that you can have, there is need to have all this information of your business model visualized in a clear way. And this is why we developed the NAS Canvas, which is a tool I'm presenting now. So the NAS Canvas has been developed within, as I said, the NIAD project. And the NIAD project is aimed to operationalize the value of nature-based solutions and explore their potential to provide a natural assurance effect against extreme water-related events like floods or droughts that are supposed or are expected to be enhanced by climate change. So this natural assurance effect, or this effect of assuring against these risks, has the result of reducing impacts and therefore also costs and damages. So this is what the NIAD project tries to find information about or provide information about. And well, this effect of providing a natural assurance service is what we have called a natural assurance scheme. So those NBSs that, when implemented, provide this effect are generating a natural assurance scheme. This is the NAS, what NAS stands for, Natural Assurance Scheme. So the H2020 project is composed of 23 partners and 9 demos across Europe that have applied all the different methodologies that have been developed during the project. So this NAS Canvas tool is basically a tool based on the business model Canvas by Osterwalder and Pigneur, who developed this sort of table in order to be able to basically organize the information about the business model and communicate it to the public. What we have done is we have tailored this tool that is quite famous in the world of business strategy. We have tailored it to include the particularities of MBS, which are mainly the fact that they don't provide a single service, but they provide multiple values, and therefore there are many beneficiaries involved. And well, there are also some other particularities, but this is probably one of the main ones that makes a difference compared to other kind of services or even to gray solutions. And also we have considered an economic framework developed by NIAD, which focuses on the risk reduction value. So the kind of MBS that we mainly apply the NAS Canvas for is risk reduction nature-based solutions aimed at reducing, or mainly at reducing flood risk or drought risk or risks related to natural events. And it combines this main value of risk reduction with the value of co-benefits and compares it with costs. Then the NAS Canvas goes also one step further in the sense that it doesn't aim only to provide some information, some qualitative information, but it also wants to incorporate quantitative information about the value and the impacts of the MBS. Why? Because of this first challenge that we were talking about the lack of evidence. If we, if we want to try to attract investors, it is important to provide them with some kind of information of what is going to be the benefit that they are going to get. And you can include that information into the NAS Canvas by applying, in NIAD, there have been a few methodologies developed to estimate the different impacts and values. But there are also other methodologies that can be used from many other projects that have developed. And the idea is to try to include numbers into the NAS Canvas as much as possible in order to provide evidence for investors. So this is how the NAS Canvas looks like. It's for those who are familiar with the business model Canvas, you will see that it looks quite similar. But the thing is, it's organized in a specific order. So the NAS canvas wants to follow the order of the service delivery logic from supply to the service provision to the demand. So we have organized it, so to say, into several blocks. The first block is the central one, as you can see, and is the flow of service, where you explain the problem, your service, and the value that your service has. So you have the first cluster, flow of services. First, you describe in step one the problem to be addressed. Then you have the value proposition with two components, the primary service and value, which would be in the case of analyzing risk reduction MBSs, it would be the risk reduction value. So, for example, the avoided cost by implementing a flood contention solution. The costs that are avoided because of reduced floods would go here. Then you have the secondary services and values, and these are all the co-benefits that are produced by this nature-based solution besides the risk reduction value. For example, generation of jobs, enhancement of biodiversity, and other kind of possible values that your solution is providing besides the main value. Then you would have the regulatory context. Why? Because your solution is always going to be constrained or even enhanced or promoted by your contextual situation and the regulatory context that you are exposed to. So this is important to be taken into account. So we would include this information here or find it here. This is then the block of the service. Then we go to the supply side. So in order to provide this service, what do we need in the supply side? First, you will need to know who is going to implement the solution. So who takes the responsibility of implementation? It can be a municipality, it can be a private company, whatever actor that is going to take the responsibility. This, step 5 would be the key activities. So what measures are you going to implement? It can be only one single MBS solution, or you can combine several MBS solutions. You can have a hybrid strategy with MBS solutions and gray solutions, or even some management measures as well. So you would describe here all the activities that you are going to implement in your strategy. Next step would be what key resources you need. For example, do I need knowledge? Do I need people, so human resources? Do I need capital? You would describe here all the resources that you need. What are your key partners? So who do I need to engage in order to get my resources? It can be stakeholders, it can be a municipality, it can be strategic partners. So you would describe them here. Then you go into your cost structure. So in order to provide all this solution with these key resources and partners, what cost is that going to involve? In the NIAD framework, we have split the cost into two components. On the one hand, the life cycle cost that would include the CapEx and the OpEx. So the capital investment and the operation and maintenance investment over time. And then the opportunity cost, which would be the costs or the benefits that you would have had if you had implemented an alternative solution. In order to see, well, what you're missing or you may be missing or what you're comparatively gaining. So once you have described your supply, you go to the demand side, you provide your service, and who owns the problem actually? Who is affected by the problem? It can be, for example, the citizens, it can be the municipality, it can be the farmers. So you have to identify who is affected by the problem. And then from these people that are affected, you will get your customer segments. Within those, you will find different types of affected people. You will have the direct beneficiaries of the solution who are affected and benefit directly from the implementation of the solution. Then you will have your clients, which will be those that are benefiting and paying for the solution, actually. And then you will have your indirect beneficiaries or extended beneficiaries, which are not paying for the solution. They are not directly benefiting from the main value, but they are benefiting from the secondary values or these co-benefits that are generated. For example, if there is indirect tourist value created and you create a flooding park, for example, and there are tourists that can visit this park, this would be indirect or extended beneficiaries. Then you have your revenue streams, which would be how do you generate money from the implementation of the solution. For example, in this example of the tourists, if they are paying some fees to enter the park or to use some of the services, those would be revenue streams. And then you would have your funding. So where do you get the money to actually implement the solution? And there are several sources from which you can get it. It can come from taxes, it can come from tariffs, transfers from public budgets, for example, or from private investors. So this would be the description of your demand. Then you would have how do the supply and the demand relate. You will have to describe how this customer relationship happens. So what type of communication is there between your provider and your client? If it's direct, if it's indirect, if it's through a community. There are different types of possible relationships. And then which channels do they communicate? By email, by workshops, by official communications. And finally, in the last step, you would show the impact of your solution. So once you have the whole business model running and you implement the solution, what impact are you going to generate? And the best way to show this impact is through impact key performance indicators. So you would identify which will be the most important indicators to show your impact. You will quantify them and show them here. So this is the NAS canvas. Now I'm going to show you how we applied this canvas to describe the business model for a specific solution in the NIAD project. So we had the Medina del Campo demo, which is tackling the problem of drought risk in one aquifer in central Spain. This aquifer has been overexploited for many years, and this is a quite arid region, which is expected to get more drought risk in the future because of climate change. So the actors were trying to find some nature solutions that would help increase the resilience against drought. And within NIAD, we tried to describe what could be a business model in order to implement these solutions that they identified. So I show you here the NAS canvas completed with all the information, and I'm going to we try not to spend too much time explaining, but just so you can see some examples of the kind of information that would go in each of the boxes. So in the first we had the flow of service. In this case, the problem to be solved was drought risk, and also a secondary problem of the groundwater overexploitation. So the value that was delivered by these solutions that were proposed was on the first place the risk reduction value, and then also the improvement of wetlands and riverine vegetation because of that was another main value that was generated by the solution. Secondary service or co-benefits that these solutions were providing, well, we had many. We had employments in agriculture, better surface availability, population fixation, improvement of water quality, sustainable groundwater availability, etc. The regulatory context in this case was very influenced by the European directives, so the Drought and Floods Directive, the Water Framework Directive, and then some national, the river basin planning, and some national regulations as well. Then on the supply side, we had who implements. The main implementer of the solution was the River Basin Authority, which is called Confederación Hidrográfica del Duero, for some of the solutions, and farmers for some other of the solutions. Key activities or solutions. We would describe the strategy here. Well, we had an MBS, that was the main solution, that was managed aquifer recharge in one of the rivers that run there. And then some soft solutions, that was the creation of groundwater user associations, which was the responsibility of farmers, and some monitoring measures and the control of environmental awareness and information. what resources did we need for this? Mainly funds, knowledge, information, technical skills, human resources, political support. Partners that we identified, the River Basin Authority as the implementer, but also the farmer leaders, the regional government, some technical institutions in the field that could provide training to farmers, the provincial government, municipalities, etc. Our cost structure, well, was defined by identifying the capital cost for each of the solutions, and also the operation and maintenance cost that would entail over time. The opportunity cost we couldn't estimate in this case, but it would be the benefits from implementing some alternative solutions. Then we go to the demand. For us, the demand was who owned the problem? All the water users, because they were all suffering the droughts, but especially the farmers, because they were the most affected, and also the River Basin Authority, because they need to comply with the European regulation in terms of groundwater overexploitation. So our customer segments were the direct beneficiaries. You had the farmers, the citizens also from the local municipalities who were also using groundwater for drinking, and the ecosystems. Your clients, the farmers and the users, will be the ones paying at the end. And extended beneficiaries that could also be benefited, the insurance sector, because when you decrease the risks and compensations from drought, the insurance sector was also benefited. Also the tourists, because the managed aquifer recharge would also recover some of the ecosystem, the riverine ecosystems, governments through taxes, etc. Then the revenue streams that we could have here would be fees paid by tourists that would visit the wetlands recovered, increase agricultural turnover thanks to greater water security. And the funding streams were a mix of several funding sources. We had the quotas paid by the water user associations, by the River Basin Authority, taxes paid by tourists, money collected from fines and sanctions of those farmers that were extracting excessive water, several transfers from the public budget from the River Basin Authority, but also from European funds and some regional funds as well, and some private investors by the farmers to implement some of the measures, well, the technologies like purchasing meters or the cost of creating these groundwater user associations. I'm going to skip the relationships because it's a bit more difficult and less interesting, so to say. But the main channels were official communications through the regulation official page, so to say, some letters, and also public participation and information workshops that were very important to communicate from the River Basin Authority to the farmers, for example, all the information. And finally, finally the impacts. Well, there were surface availability improvements, groundwater exploitation index could be reduced to 0.8. That was the goal of the municipality. And well, we tried to quantify as much as possible the impacts that could be generated by these solutions. So now, after this quick, and I'm sorry for being so quick, example, I didn't want to make this workshop only a presentation, one direction presentation, but I wanted to also do a participatory exercise in which you can all also contribute and participate. So the idea for this exercise is I'm going to show you a blank canvas here. And I would like to make a pilot exercise of us all together filling in the canvas for a hypothetical example of, for example, a measure that is urban flooding in a European city. That will be our problem. And we could implement some measures like the suits, like permeable pavements, floodable parks, green roofs. So green solutions in order to reduce urban flooding. And the way I would like to propose that we do this exercise is you can all, I'm going to be mentioning each of the boxes. I hope you can see something because I know it's a bit small here, but I'm going to be mentioning them, and through the chat, the room chat, you can all contribute and write those things that you think should go in each of the boxes. So for example, I'm going to type here like hello to make sure that everybody can. I'm going to give you some time to find the chat. If any of you can write something to know that you're there and you're listening. Hi, great. We have people participating, so fantastic. So then let's try to do this. It's some kind of an experiment, but let's see if it works. So as I explained before, we had the problem to be addressed first. That would be the urban planning in a European city, and then the value proposition. What would be, do you think, the primary value of this solution of the suits? Some ideas, some volunteers. Comfort to the citizens who don't have to deal with floods, yes. So the main value would be reducing the floods, no? Which, okay. Well, reduction of floods, which leads to comfort to citizens. Great. Less operational expenses to the municipality. Exactly, that will be the avoided costs. Avoided costs for the municipality. We had some potential pollution saving lives. Well, that's a direct also value, but this one of potential pollution avoided, that would be, and also less disruption to citizens, that would be the co-benefits, because that's not so the main value or the reason why you are implementing the solution is to reduce the flood risk. So that's the primary value. And then those others that you're mentioning would be the secondary values. So those values that you're generating indirectly by implementing the solution, that would be risks, so pollution, prevention. What else do we have? Less disruption to citizens. Perfect. So we go to the next one. The regulatory context. That's why I said it would be a European city in order to give some context. So, for example, examples of regulations that could apply here. Well, maybe I will do this because it's just quite direct. It would be the Flood Risk Directive, no, mainly, which is the piece of regulation that will frame these issues in the whole of Europe, and then each country will develop their specific ones. But only if anybody thinks of other kind of piece of regulation that think it's especially important, they can raise it, and otherwise we go to the next one. Okay, nothing. So then we go to who implements. Who do you think should be responsible for implementing all these measures? Yeah, exactly. Cities may have their own orders as well. So we could say like municipal orders, yeah. Regulations, municipal regulations. Municipalities should implement. Yeah, probably that's, in most cases, it would be like that. So the municipality would be the implementer, the main implementer. Only them? Or do you think maybe for some measures could be implemented by neighborhoods or real estate construction companies? They could probably contribute. municipality, real estate, consultancy, or construction companies. They will also be benefited, so probably they would also be interested in implementing some of the solutions. Does it depend on the scale of the project? It could. Yeah, maybe for very large scale projects, it will be more the municipality taking the burden, whereas if it's just small projects at the neighborhood scale or even community scale, it could be done by private investors. The water company could also be a very good option. Actually, there are examples of water companies who have implemented some nature-based solutions upstream in order to reduce urban flooding because they were affected. So that's a very good suggestion. Depending on the location of the flood area, there could be distance and working in the area. Or the business that is protected directly as well could also be, the business could protect themselves directly as well. Well, let's leave this for now. Then the next step would be the key resources. So what kind of resources would these people need in order to implement these solutions? The neighborhoods or district affected, yes. Sorry. Knowledge to build the solution. Yes. Knowledge. Expertise and funding. Very good. What kind of knowledge? That's a good question. Maybe probably knowledge on how, well, on the solutions themselves, technical knowledge, like engineering, for example, could say engineering knowledge. Maybe capacities to the municipalities as well, in order to be able, in order to be able to manage the solutions, because once they are they have been built, they also need to be maintained. And in the case of green parks, for example, you need a lot of maintenance to keep them operating. So you need special skills for that. So there is no community involvement. There could be community involvement as well. Oh, sorry, this goes very fast. Knowledge. Exactly, there could be some kind of training sessions in order to teach people how to maintain their own green roofs and their own solutions. And I think we had included the community here. The neighborhoods, we could call it a community. So there is community involvement. It depends on the solution, of course. But also academia. Academia could also be important in terms of all the research that is done in this kind of solutions. So we're going to add it here. But academia would be a partner rather than a knowledge. So aquí we could say academic knowledge in the sense of this evidence of performance of the solutions, for example, as we said before. Skills and community, exactly. Skills on community engagement. That's a very good one, because that's something that not all the municipalities need to have necessarily. And if they want to involve the solution, it is very important that they know how to do it. Would this step be done after pros, cons of all alternatives evaluated? Well, I guess yes. This comes later to that. So you are supposed to have done first some kind of evaluation, cost benefit, for example, analysis of your solutions, of the different alternatives, and you select the one that you think is more suitable for your problem, and then you would build the business model for that one, because building the business model for other alternatives that maybe are not efficient or are not suitable or feasible is a little bit of a waste of time. So probably this step, the whole building of the business model, would be later than selecting the alternative that you think is best. So academia, we have added them into the partners. This seems to well. It's valuable is how to make these NatureBased solutions the new normal rather than something that is operated in higher levels. Well, yes, actually, this is exactly community representatives or leaders. If we go to partners, that's a very good one, because indeed you need to engage them, the community leaders. And there can be like two, it just comes to my mind, it can be done in two phases. So for example, this, if we think about a city that is usually the people will go, well, maybe not, but will need to see some kind of evidence or to see some kind of examples of MBSs in order to think, okay, this can be useful. I could be interested as a citizen or as a community to invest in this. Probably first they need to see some kind of evidence or some example of what that is, even at that level. So something that could, for example, happen in a city is that the municipality takes the first step and builds some green solutions in public buildings, for example, in order to showcase how they work and how effective they are. And once they have shown that to the communities, then the communities will step up and say, okay, then I'm going to implement this into my my building, for example, or my community space. And then they would actually take ownership of this kind of solution. So I don't know if Laura goes somewhere in that direction, her suggestion, to make it normal between leaders. Okay, she liked it. Good. Okay, so then key partners we will have, well, I don't think we are going to have time to do it completely, because it's, but what I wanted to, with this exercise, it's that you start to get in the thinking mode of how this could be filled in and how it can be useful to actually identify the kind. You can even identify strategies, as we just did. So what kind of information you would need and how to organize it in order to basically design your business model and see all the elements that you are going to need in order to have the MBS implemented. And then when you have this whole frame filled in with the information and the numbers, you are presenting something more solid to a possible investor or a possible citizen who needs to, well, who is interested and you want to convince them of the importance of implementing an MBS in their community or something. Then this tool could help you provide the right information in a very visual way. It can be better visually than this one, but it will show all the elements that you need for that. Yeah, that's a very good question. Do we involve all stakeholders to build this canvas? The way that we did it was we did a first go, let's say, and we pre-filled the canvas for the case of Medina that I just presented. And then we took it to the stakeholders in a small workshop where we validated the information, and we asked them to provide ideas as well. And also sometimes, for example, we had in one of the we had as an indirect beneficiary the how was it? Well, the companies or supply companies of inputs, agricultural inputs, and we thought maybe this could be interested in funding some of the solutions because they will also benefit from it. And the farmers said, no way, don't think about it. They are not going to fund anything. So it could help us also to run out or rule out some of the options that we had considered and ground it to the reality of the real people who are facing the problem. So yeah, it's highly recommendatory that to do it either pre-filling it and then validating it with the stakeholders, or even co-developing directly with them. Yes, actually, it could be a living document that is updated throughout the project. So the idea is that it helps you start off, but of course, there are things that maybe don't work or change over the process of the project. So that, yeah, it can definitely be something adaptive and changing. You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. I think we are done for now, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I hope it helped you understand, and well, we will have hopefully a paper published soon. I will ask Celine if we will be able to provide a copy of the slides, and if there's no problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I recorded the people, but if you just can shoot me a message, I'm gonna put here my email address in the chat. Just send me a message with your email address, and I'll send this to you afterwards. So we can provide the slide to whoever participated.
Also, just one second, if you want to see a more detailed description of the canvas and how to apply, even with an explanation of the steps one by one, you can find it in the website of NIAD under the deliverables, in the deliverables 7.2. Your to work package 7. I'm going to give you the link directly. Is this one? Okay. So in this link, you can download the deliverable where the canvas is explained, and it's applied to all the NIAD demos, so you can see it applied to different examples, and you can find all the information there. And if you have any questions or whatever, you can also contact me directly to this address. Oh, that's also true, a very good one. Traffic as non-human actor affected by floods. That's true. That's true. That's a
Beatrice? Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. She's like Beatrice has a just small connection issue. So thank you very much for joining this session. Just shoot an email to Beatrice or myself for any info or questions you may have after the session. And hope to see you into the next nature-based solutions session. Beatrice, a last word before I start.
Thank you for joining, and again, I hope it was interesting and smooth to follow.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.